Let's get to Luka Doncic, who of course plays for the Lakers now after having been traded. Who's your favorite women's basketball player? Caitlin Clark. You don't like Paige Bueckers? Quote, shrugs. She's okay. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA, so and when he sees her play in the WNBA, he won't be that impressed.
He didn't flinch. He didn't stall. When Luka Doncic was asked to name his favorite women's basketball player, he gave a two-word answer that crushed the media's narrative in seconds. Caitlin Clark.
He was asked about his favorite women's basketball player. Listen to this.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like Paige Bueckers?
No. She's okay. I didn't see her playing the women's NBA, so.
She just got drafted.
#1.
Dallas.
He used to play in Dallas, which is where Paige Bueckers plays.
A reputable basketball publication, Bleacher Report, stating that Paige Bueckers led the nation in assists twice in her college career. She has been top 15 once. She was 63rd last year when she led the nation assists. Georgia Amore, who had more assists than Paige, did not lead the nation assists as well. It is literally the media just lying. They are literally just lying.
No hesitation. No fake diplomacy. Just cold truth. And when Paige Bueckers' name was brought up, Luka shrugged her off like she didn't even register. No praise, no courtesy, just a quiet, brutal reality check. That moment didn't just expose the media's desperation to create a rivalry, it shattered it.
There's another trading card that sold for an absurd amount of money. You'd have to pay $244,000 to have gotten that card.
Luka made it clear, Paige isn't the moment. Caitlin is. And while the spin machine scrambles to clean up the mess, the internet is already calling it what it is, complete humiliation. It was supposed to be a simple question, a light throwaway moment in an interview. But when Luka Doncic was asked who his favorite women's basketball player was, he didn't pause. He didn't search for the politically correct answer.
When it comes to motion, when it comes to moving the needle, we all know the one that does that in women's sports, and that is Caitlin Clark. She continues to set ridiculous numbers all over the place.
He dropped a truth bomb. Caitlin Clark. Two words that sliced through months of forced media narratives like a blade. And then came the twist that nobody expected. When the interviewer followed up with Paige Bueckers' name, Luka didn't lean into the hype. He shrugged. No excitement, no praise. Just a flat, almost dismissive, she's okay. It wasn't just an opinion. It was a basketball reality check delivered by one of the biggest stars on the planet.
Why hasn't Middle America given Paige Bueckers the Caitlin Clark treatment?
Paige Bueckers is woke as hell. She's going to come into the league and join the WNBA activism. She's probably not going to be embraced over that because we are sick of it.
Let's not pretend that didn't hit hard. Paige Bueckers has been pushed relentlessly by media outlets trying to manufacture a rivalry, propping her up as Caitlin Clark's equal, or even her superior. They've rewritten stats, exaggerated impact, and ignored the obvious.
If you look at all these seasons, first season Paige was 15. The second season Paige played, Caitlin Clark led the NCAA in assists with 8 assists per game. Paige did not play in 22-23, and in 23-24, Caitlin Clark is 2.1 entire assists ahead of Georgia Amore, who she said led NCAA in assists.
But Luka didn't play along. He spoke the language of real hoopers, results, performance, and presence. And Paige, she hasn't even stepped on a WNBA court. No impact, no draw, no proof. Just a name with buzz, but no storm.
2020-21 season, when she said Paige led the NCAA in assists, it was Aleta, and Caitlin was third with 7.8 assists per game. Paige averaged 5, and I think she was 15th.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark has been rewriting the playbook. She didn't walk into the WNBA, she stormed in, breaking rookie records, leading the league in assists, selling out arenas, moving merch like an entire franchise, and doing it all with the weight of a struggling franchise on her back.
In her final year at Virginia Tech, she averaged 6.8 assists per game and then led the nation.
Not only is it eradicating Caitlin Clark, it's eradicating Serena Sundell. Like, if you look at Paige Bueckers' seasons, or if you look at last season, Serena Sundell averaged 0.4 assists more than Georgia Amore, but nearly 3 assists more than Paige Bueckers.
Luka's response wasn't petty, it was earned. It was respect for a player who's already changing the landscape, not someone still coasting on college hype and media spin. The moment was short, but the fallout was massive.
I thought Paige Bueckers was a star. I thought Paige Bueckers was the secondary great white hope. It didn't matter who Caitlin Clark was playing, and the game would be headline news. That is what's missing in women's college basketball this season.
Luka Doncic, with a single shrug and a brutally honest answer, exposed just how hollow the comparisons really are. And the message was loud and clear. The basketball world knows who's real and who's being manufactured. Caitlin Clark is the moment. Paige still has everything to prove.
And this is from Bleacher Report, ranking the rookies by a WNBA expert. This is just lying.
Their season, she's been flirting with 4 assists. And this past season, she also led the nation in assists with 4.6 assists.
So Paige Bueckers led the nation in assists with 4.6 assists per game. She was 63rd. So when Caitlin Clark was still in college, and Caitlin was 2 entire assists ahead of second place. And Georgia Amore was 4th.
Not only do I not think Paige is going to move the needle, I don't think she's going to flutter it. I don't think it's going to vibrate slightly.
Luka Doncic's dismissive shrug did more than just embarrass Paige Bueckers. It exposed the widening gap between reality and media fantasy. For months, major sports outlets have tried to construct a narrative that Paige Bueckers is not only in the same league as Caitlin Clark, but perhaps even better.
Basically, Wings GM conveys key difference in Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark's rookie season. He said the one thing when you talk about last season is that Paige won't have the benefit that Caitlin did. And this is nothing against Caitlin, but we had an Olympic break last year. So you got to see some players take a month-long break, essentially. And those rookies were coming off a grueling season in the collegiate game. They got a break and got to reset and finish strong. This draft class, which includes Paige, is not going to have that luxury. We don't have a big break where they can almost catch a second win and then push to the finish line in the second half of the season, he continued. So we have to watch this rookie class around the league about load management. It's not just our rookies. We're all going to be tuned in to load management, especially these rookies that played long into their collegiate season. I didn't really see any of the benefit that Caitlin Clark got coming into the season.
They cherry-pick stats, lean on old accolades, and reference injuries as if they explain the glaring absence of buzz around Paige's name. But Luka didn't care about curated media spins. He responded like a hooper, like someone who sees through the noise and focuses on who's really moving the needle.
We want to see Caitlin Clark and we want to see Paige Bueckers.
Caitlin scored more points per game, but Paige was more efficient.
Paige Bueckers has had one of the best careers in the history of women's college basketball. On paper, you can make the case that Paige Bueckers has better college career than Caitlin Clark. But this is the world of television, where you're not judged based on your accomplishments. You're not judged based on your stats. You're judged based on your drawing power. And looking at these ratings for the women's tournament, it is abundantly clear Paige Bueckers might be a star, but she's not a draw.
These two were the topic of conversation. Who's the better player?
She's not nearly the player that Caitlin Clark is.
You know, she's been really disappointing this whole tournament.
We're not creating this rivalry. We're not saying they hate each other, but they are two of the best in the game right now.
The truth is, Caitlin Clark hasn't just changed the game, she's transformed it. In her rookie WNBA season, she walked into a struggling Indiana Fever team and instantly became the league's centerpiece. She led the league in assists, posted record-breaking rookie stats, shattered attendance records, and ignited an entirely new fan base for the WNBA.
The second chapter of the Caitlin Clark era in the WNBA will commence soon. Clark established herself as a superstar in her rookie season with the Indiana Fever and will now lead a championship hopeful team into year 2. However, before the season begins, Clark was involved in a major news headline that featured a 6-figure price tag. Clark's edition of the 2024 Piani Prism WNBA Throwback Signatures Golden Vinyl Card has been officially sold.
Merchandise, ticket sales, media coverage, even trading cards. Everything she touched turned to gold. She didn't need excuses. She didn't need media protection. She just delivered night in and night out under more pressure than any rookie in history. Paige Bueckers, on the other hand, has been wrapped in a safety net of hype since her college debut.
I got to be with those women up close and personal. I was in practices. I was at shoot-arounds. I was in the locker room.
That's a great experience, though.
So you was able to get a real close
view of what it was like to be a WNBA player at that time.
Yeah, and it was like not glamorous at all. But I was a kid, so to me, I thought it was like the most amazing thing ever.
Right.
But when you have conversations with like Taj and stuff like that, they're like, that was a mess. It was ghetto. It was bad. It was a mess. Yeah. But we still talk about like how the league was like 6-7 years ago. We have like things like, I can't believe we was doing this. We was sharing rooms.
No, we was definitely sharing rooms. I was just telling Natalie and Tom, I was like, bro, we really was sharing rooms and you was talking in your sleep before games. Like you literally was Nat, you was talking in your sleep.
You gotta leave room to get on FaceTime with their boo.
You gotta leave out the room.
Sitting in the lobby at midnight.
She's undeniably talented, but talent without action is just potential. And potential doesn't sell tickets. It doesn't shift culture, and it certainly doesn't warrant being spoken of in the same breath as Caitlin Clark. At least not yet. The media wants a rivalry. They crave a storyline. But Luka's answer shut that door completely. Because if Paige really belonged in the same conversation, Luka, the player, the competitor, the global icon, would have said so.
So basically, we know Natalie Esquire, a serial hater when it comes to the Caitlin Clark fan base. She's pretty much a driving force behind a lot of the drama that take place in the media.
You have other people like Sabria Whitaker. I'm sorry. You have so many people out there, and people like this, the committee, which is, you know, a group of really, really strong women's basketball fans on Twitter. They have influence. Dawn Staley flew 2 members of the committee to South Carolina's opening game in Paris, okay?
So they're calling old guard WNBA fans the committee. These are the same people that is pushing race narratives. These are the same people that is bashing Caitlin Clark. These are the people she's talking about.
Instead, he responded with the indifference of someone who's watched greatness and knows the difference between noise and substance. Even worse for the Paige camp, Luka's words echoed what fans and players have been feeling for months. When Paige's name comes up in these debates, it's often accompanied by maybe, someday, or if she's healthy. But with Caitlin, there's no hesitation. She's already proven, already delivering, already defining the league.
The hate in Natalie Esquire heart is so strong, LOL. She said this in 4 different ways for absolutely no reason. NBC, at Indiana Fever. We don't want her covering America's team. Natalie Esquire said only one is super problematic, emo, in my experience, and based on listening to what has been said and reported on all year, it's a common theme. I only get harassed to endure racism, receive threatening emails, DMs from one fan base. So yes, it's one. It can apply in all of sports, but there is a notable difference in one fan base with respect to the W. This tweet said, no, it's one. It's not allegedly. This is my experience, and it only comes from a specific set of fans. So yes, for me, it's one fan base. You've already heard a player say in her career she's never experienced anything like this. Stop trying to violate our experience.
Luka simply said what everyone else was thinking, but few had the courage to say out loud. And the timing of this moment couldn't be worse for those trying to prop up Paige. Her rookie debut didn't sell out. Her arrival didn't trend globally. There was no frenzy, no lines out the door, no electricity in the air. Compare that to Caitlin's first game, which was treated like the Super Bowl of women's basketball. That's not bias, that's impact. That's real-world bottom-line influence, the kind Luka Doncic recognizes without needing a stat sheet.
All they can think to do is infer, insinuate racism. Just claim racism. Ratings explode.
A lot of Caitlin Clark fans, and so many of them are not white. It's just insulting to assume that that's the case to the people that aren't white, to the Black Americans that do love Caitlin Clark.
Eaton Thomas contrasts how white Americans view the two based on stark differences in speaking out against racial injustice. Quote, perhaps it's because unlike Clark, Bueckers has always been outspoken about issues off the court, Thomas wrote in a Guardian article. At the 2021 ESPYs, Bueckers was named the College Athlete of the Year. She used her acceptance speech to celebrate and honor Black women in particular. In Bueckers' famous ESPYs speech, she used her platform to recognize those who didn't get the same recognition as her, specifically highlighting Black women. While Black America cheered Bueckers, it seemed like mainstream white America, a demographic demographic once viewed her as, in her words, a media darling, weren't singling out her praises. Is it a coincidence, or maybe because her injuries have made people forget her greatness as an athlete? But she's back from injury, and now why are people focused on Bueckers as they were Clark last year when she was tearing up college basketball? Maybe if Bueckers had delivered a more vanilla ESPY speech, things would be different. This is a completely embarrassing article. Caitlin Clark is a worldwide phenomenon whose playing style has drawn a level of hype that hasn't been seen in basketball in a decade.
The media can keep pumping articles, twisting numbers, and building castles out of clouds, but Luka's 5-second answer just torched the foundation. And no matter how hard they try to rebuild, everyone now knows the truth. Caitlin Clark is the present and the future. Paige Bueckers is a question mark with a lot to prove, and the clock is ticking. The fallout from Luka Doncic's brutally honest response didn't just sting, it exposed the uncomfortable truth the media has tried to bury for months. There is no rivalry. Caitlin Clark is in a league of her own, and Paige Bueckers, while immensely talented, simply hasn't earned a seat at that table yet. Luka didn't humiliate Paige with insults. He did it with indifference. And that's worse, because nothing is more devastating in sports than realizing the hype surrounding your name isn't echoed by the very people who know the game best. And Luka isn't some talking head looking to stir controversy. He's a generational talent himself, someone who understands pressure, expectations, and performance at the highest level. When he shrugged and said she's okay about Paige, it wasn't personal, it was truthful. And it was the same truth that fans, coaches, and even WNBA executives have started to whisper. Paige Bueckers is walking into a spotlight she hasn't earned, and comparisons to Caitlin Clark aren't just unfair, they're absurd. Caitlin's journey to superstardom wasn't cushioned. She didn't get media excuses. She didn't get the luxury of low expectations. She was handed a broken franchise and the burden of saving a league starving for attention, and she delivered spectacularly. No Olympic break, no load management, no easing in, just immediate dominance. She filled arenas across the country. She led the league in assists. She dragged her team into primetime, not because the media begged for it, but because the fans demanded it.
The light that I have now as a white woman who leads a Black-led sport and celebrated here, I want to show a light on Black women. They don't get the media coverage that they deserve. They've given so much to the sport and the community and society as a whole, and their value is undeniable. The WNBA last season, the postseason awards, 80% of the winners were Black, but they got half the coverage as the white athletes. So I think it's time for change. Sports media holds the key to storylines. Sports media and sponsors tell us who is valuable, and you have told the world that I matter today, and everyone who voted, thank you. But I think we should use this power together to also celebrate Black women.
Don't you realize these Black girls all paved the road that she's traveling, that these Black women built the WNBA, that these Black women carried women's basketball, and now all the racists love women's basketball because they're racist and they have Caitlin Clark. Just not true.
Meanwhile, as Paige prepares to enter the league, the narrative is already being padded with excuses. We're hearing about injuries, about rest, about adjusting. They're lowering the bar before she's even played a professional game, just in case she can't clear it. It's the kind of protection Caitlin never got. And that's why Luka's words hit so hard, because they weren't about potential. They were about results, about who's delivered, about who's really changed the game. Worse yet, the media's insistence on forcing this comparison is starting to backfire. Fans see through it. They know what real star power looks like. And they've rallied around Caitlin not just because she's talented, but because she's proven.
There's an Angel Reese card out there right now that's on eBay that somebody has a ridiculous price on, and it's just been sitting there forever. It's collecting dust.
She didn't ask for favoritism. She earned respect. Every sold-out arena, every national headline, every viral highlight, it all came from work, not narrative. From results, not speculation. So when Luka shrugged and gave Paige that brutal, she's okay, it wasn't just a slight. It was a mirror held up to a system that keeps trying to fabricate rivals for someone who clearly doesn't have one. And in that mirror, the truth became crystal clear. Paige Bueckers has a mountain to climb. And while the media might be climbing it for her, Luka and millions of fans are no longer buying the view. Luka Doncic didn't raise his voice. He didn't throw shade. He didn't need to. With one simple answer, Caitlin Clark, and one shrug at Paige Bueckers' name, he shattered months of forced comparisons and media spin. It wasn't just a moment, it was a message. The basketball world doesn't run on hype, it runs on impact. And when it comes to that, Caitlin Clark is running laps around the competition. The media can keep pushing Paige into conversations she hasn't earned. They can rewrite stats, lower standards, and manufacture rivalries. But real ones know the truth. Luka knows the truth. The fans know the truth. Caitlin Clark is the face of women's basketball because she didn't wait to be handed the spotlight. She took it, owned it, and redefined what it means to be a star. So while Paige Bueckers prepares to prove herself, Caitlin is already proving the critics wrong every single night. And if Luka's reaction told us anything, it's this: the game recognizes game. And right now, the game belongs to Caitlin Clark. Period.